Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you're doing well. If you're new, a huge welcome to you. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. As you can see, I'm outside enjoying the beautiful weather today. I can't believe that it's 74 degrees here in Arlington, Virginia. It's definitely very unusual for this time of the year, especially in February, but I absolutely love it. And I actually went for a walk a few minutes ago and I just came back. And so I'm just sitting out here enjoying the gorgeous sunshine, taking in the vitamin D. But anyway guys, if this is your first time visiting my channel, I do unboxings, I do reviews, and I also do jewelry tutorials. So if that's something you think you might be interested in, please think about subscribing to my channel. And I'm super excited today because we're going to be making that gorgeous set that you saw in the intro. I made the entire set with Didi's Deluxe Bead box for the month of February. The name of the box was Gypsy Caravan. Now the jewelry set is definitely boho style, and if you don't know what that is, it's inspired by the Bohemian culture. Now I don't know if that includes Hungarian gypsies. I think it might, I'm not sure. But anyway guys, it's usually very colorful. Boho style usually includes turquoise, magenta, yellows, really bright colors. And it usually includes a lot of different materials such as glass, textiles, wood, that kind of thing. Obviously today we're going to be using glass beads and gemstones. I'm not going to be using any other materials such as textiles or anything like that. I guess I am going to be using some metal components as well. But anyway guys, if you don't have that box or you don't have the beads, you can still make this jewelry set. I'll leave a list of all the materials down below in the description section of this video. I'm also going to leave some timestamps in case you want to skip forward to any portion of the video. And we have a whole bunch of jewelry to make, so I don't want to keep talking. So let's go ahead, turn the camera around, and we'll get started. And here we have Didi's Deluxe Bead box for the month of February 2023. The name of this box is Gypsy Caravan. Let's go ahead and select the beads. As you can see, it's a very colorful palette. I absolutely love it. And we're going to be using quite a few of these beads today. The first one that caught my attention was this one right here. I thought this strand was absolutely gorgeous. This is called Multicolor Sea Sediment Jasper. And these are cylinder tubes, as you can see. They measure 13 by 4 millimeters. And when I first saw this one, guys, I could not resist it. It's absolutely gorgeous. So we're going to be using quite a few of these beads. And of course, I was attracted to this one too. This is the Inspired by Checks designer strand, and as you can see, it has those gorgeous vibrant gypsy colors. I'm probably going to use one of these as a focal today, but I am going to use quite a few of the beads on this strand. I want to use these little yellow ones as well. I thought these were adorable when I first saw them. These are called speckled mustard yellow glass beads, and they're speckled with turquoise and red, as you can see. They measure 4 millimeters in size. I want to use these as well. I love this shade of red. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. These are frosted red glass beads, and they measure 8 millimeters in size. I want to use these nuggets as well. These are called irregular shaped tumbled turquoise nuggets. I don't know the exact size, but as you can see, they're pretty substantial. They look like they're between 10 and 12 millimeters in size. I love that they're irregular because they're going to add a very rustic feel to the whole piece today. Now, I'm not sure if I'll use these charms, but I'll pull them out just in case. They measure 15 millimeters across. I think that starburst design is absolutely gorgeous. And I like these charms as well. As you can see, they're in a teardrop shape. And these have a patina wash just like the ones that I just showed you. These measure 18 by 6 millimeters. I definitely want to use these bead caps. As you can see, they're in a bronze color. I may pull out some other ones from my stash as well to go along with these. I'm not sure yet. I have to decide. I definitely want to use this chain. It's in a copper color, but I don't mind mixing my metal colors. I love using copper and bronze together in one design. And I think I will use some of these charms as well. As you can see, there are various shapes and sizes. More than likely, I'll use these long ones. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to decide. And I think I'll make a quick pair of earrings at the end. I'll use these rhombus components. I just think these are absolutely gorgeous. And they're so colorful and so ornate. I really don't need to do anything else but add an ear wire hook. And that's it from this box. So these are all the materials that we're going to be using from Didi's Deluxe Bead box. As you can see, it's most of the collection, but we're not going to be using every single bead. We're going to be using a few beads from each strand. Now I will be using some other items from my stash. I'll be using some jump rings, head pins, and some lobster clasps, but I'll pull those later on when we get ready to use them. So let me go ahead and pull the beads off the strands and we'll get started. We're going to start by assembling the focal part of the necklace, and these are the beads we're going to be using. As you can see, I have some of the beads from the Inspired by Checks strand, this one right here, and these down here. I also have one of the Jasper tube beads, and I have a seed bead size 6/0 down here. I have a whole bag of them. We're actually going to be using these on the rest of the project. I got them at Michael's a long time ago and I have no idea what brand they are. I just know that they're check beads size 6/0. I also have one of the teardrop shaped charms with a patina finish, and I have a 4mm yellow bead from that strand that we received with the speckles of turquoise and red. And here's one of the 8mm frosted red beads. And I also have 2 little charms that came in that mix. Basically the pendant's going to have 4 dangles hanging down, and we're also going to be using some chain for the dangles, but I'll pull that out in just a few moments after we finish mounting this bead right here. I'll be using some 20 gauge wire, and this is by Beadsmith. It's tarnish resistant and it's in an antique copper color. You can use any brand. As you can see, I've cut myself a piece of wire. It's about 2.5 inches long. And by the way guys, you really need to make sure that you straighten your wire because this bead actually has a hole that's very small. So if the wire isn't straight, it may not go in very well. I'm going to create a simple loop at the top. So I'm going to grab the wire with my flat nose pliers, and I'm grabbing it a little bit more than 1/2 inch down. And I'm going to kink it just like that. And now with my round nose pliers, I'm going to grab the end of the wire, making sure that it's flush. As you can see, I've placed the wire at the widest part of the nose of my pliers, and that's because I want a big loop. So now I'm simply going to loop it, making sure you close your loop really well, just like that. And now I'm going to thread the yellow bead on. And now this bead. So this is what you should have. And now I'm going to create a loop at this end. And once again, it's going to be a pretty big loop. So I'm going to grab the wire at the base of the bead, line up the bottom loop, kink it. And now with my flush cutters, I'm going to cut off the excess wire. And again, I'm leaving myself a little bit more than 1/2 inch. I'm going to grab the wire with my round nose pliers now and loop it. You want to make sure the loop is nice and closed, and you want to make sure that it's sitting straight on the pin. Another thing you should do is line up your loops. So I'm grabbing this loop with my flat nose pliers, and now with another set of pliers I'm going to grab this loop and line them up. So this is what you should have. I think it looks adorable. Now we're going to create some dangles with these beads. I have some ball head pins. We're going to be using the ball head pins on 3 of the dangles. So let me go ahead and load them. That's the first one. The second one's going to have these beads here. Just like that. And these actually came in this order on the strand. I thought it was really cute and I didn't think I needed to change it. And the third one's going to have the frosted bead. Just like that. Let me go ahead and loop this one first. I'm going to be doing a wrap loop for this one. So I'm going to grab the pin at the top of the bead like this, kink it, switch to this portion of the pin, take the tail, wrap it around the nose of my pliers, flip my pliers around, and continue to wrap that pin to the back. Just like that. Let me open up the loop a little bit. I'm going to thread these leaves. Now these leaves are slightly curved, so I'm going to place them back to back. And that way they'll sit up against each other with a curved side out, if that makes any sense. I'm going to slide them into this loop now. Just like that. It's a little difficult to see, but I'll see if I can freeze the frame and zoom in. So now I'm just going to put it down for the time being. I'm not going to close it with wraps just yet. And and it's because I'm going to be attaching some chain to it. So now I'm going to do the same thing to these two. As you can see, I've mounted these two on wire, and I just realized that I can actually close this one with wraps. I don't know what I was thinking, but the chain is actually going to be connected to this end of the charms, and I'm going to be using a jump ring for that. So let me go ahead and close the wraps on this loop. I'm going to use these skinny pliers to grab the loop. And now with these other pliers, I'm going to grab the tail and do a few wraps. I usually do between 2 and 3, but you can do as many wraps as you want to. And now using my flush cutters, I'm going to cut off the excess and tuck in whatever little end is sticking out. You don't want anything sharp sticking out. Now before I close these wraps, I'm going to be attaching some chain. And here's my chain. This did not come in the box. This chain is from my own stash, and I wanted to use this one because the lengths are a little bit smaller. The easiest way to do this is to connect the chain before you cut it. So I'm going to slide this link into the loop that I created. Just like that. Let me go ahead and close it up with wraps. And now I'm going to cut off the excess pin and tuck in the little end. So here it is connected to the chain. So now that I've done this, I'm going to cut off the chain that I need, and I need about 1 inch worth. Let me just measure it out. I think I'm going to cut this one right here. So there's my first dangle. It's going to be connected to this loop eventually. I want to prepare the other one before I finish connecting everything. So here's my chain again. I'm going to slide the link of the chain into the loop that I created. Just like that. Grab the loop with my skinny pliers. And now I'm going to grab the tail and do a couple of wraps. Cut off the excess pin. Tuck in the little end, if you see one. So here it is connected, and now I'm going to snip off the amount of chain that I need. I think I'm going to snip off this link right here. I don't need that much chain for this one. So now I have 2 dangles, and now I'm going to be using some jump rings on these two. I have a very tiny jump ring here. This one's about 3.5 millimeters. Let me open it up. And I'm going to connect the charm. Here's my chain again. I'm going to connect it to this link. Let me close it up. Now before I cut it, I need to figure out how long I want it. This one's going to go here. Let me just check the length of all of these. Of course, I could always change this. It's never too late. I think I need 3 lengths for this one. So let me go ahead and snip this one off. And I think I'm going to remove one of these links. So instead of 2, I'll have 1. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I'd rather use links than jump rings. So now this one has 1 little link, as you can see, and this one has 3 links. And this one's going to have a jump ring. I'm going to use a 5mm jump ring for this one. Let me open it up. Let me close it. You want to make sure you close the jump ring really well because these little leaves are a little bit thin and they might slide through if there's a gap. So now that the dangles are done, we're going to connect them to the pendant, and that's very easy to do. Let me open up this loop. I'm going to slide this one first, and now this one, and now this one, and the teardrop. Just like that. Now before you close it, you should check it to make sure everything's hanging the way you want it. And I'm actually going to make one more little change. Let me remove this teardrop. I'm going to make a change to this one right here. Let me remove this jump ring. I think I'm going to get a smaller jump ring. I have 2 of the tiny ones. These are the ones that are 3.5mm. Let me go ahead and open one. I'm going to connect it to the charms. And now I'm going to slide this jump ring on as well and close it up. So this is what we have so far, and I think I'm going to add one more jump ring. Here it is. Let me open it up. And I guess I could have used a piece of chain and 1 jump ring, but since I'm on a roll here, I might as well just use jump rings. I'm going to connect it to this jump ring like that. Close it up. That should help to make it look a little bit more balanced. Let me slide it back onto the pendant. And now this charm. And now let me close it up. And I think that looks a little bit better. I think it looks really adorable. So now that we've created the pendant, we're going to move on to the strands. Let me go ahead and get the beads. So here are the beads and bead caps we're going to be using for this necklace. As you can see, I've already built 4 beaded components right here. I'm trying to be a little bit more efficient with my tutorials, but don't worry because I will build one of them with you. We're actually going to have 5 different types of beaded components. Let me go ahead and show you the 5th one. I'm using 20 gauge wire again, and as you can see, I've already formed a loop. I'm going to start by loading one of these yellow beads, and then one of these copper colored bead caps, and a frosted bead, and another bead cap, and another yellow bead. And now I'm going to form a loop, just like I've been doing. Line up the bottom loop like this, kink it, snip off the excess, leaving about 1/2 inch. Grab the end with your round nose pliers, make sure it's flush, and loop it. You want to make sure you close it nicely and straighten out your loop if you need to. Just like that. Let me go ahead and line up my loops. Usually they're lined up pretty well, but once in a while they're a little bit off. So there's the 5th one. So a quick overview. I'm going to build 4 of these, 2 of these with a rectangle, 2 of these with the oval, 2 of these with a nugget, and 4 of these with a frosted bead. Now obviously if you want your necklace to be longer or shorter, you may need a different amount of beaded components, but whatever you do, make sure that you build an even number so that you can divide it into 2 equal piles. And I'll show you why later on. The beaded components are going to be arranged in a random fashion, and it's helpful if you have an even number of components of each kind. Let me give you a close-up of each one. As you can see, this one has a jasper bead and a 6/0 seed bead at each end. This one has the rectangle bead with a 6/0 seed bead at each end. This one has the oval bead and a filigree bead cap at each end. I think they fit really nicely on that bead. And here's the nugget bead with a bead cap at each end. And this is the one we just built. It has 2 4mm yellow beads at each end and the 8mm bead in the middle with a bead cap on each end. So anyway guys, I'm going to go ahead and build these off camera and I'll be right back. As you can see, I completed all the beaded components. There's a total of 14. You might want to take a snapshot of the screen. Since I have 14 of them, I'm going to divide them into 2 piles. Each pile will have 7 components. They're going to be connected randomly, but I am going to try to distribute the colors as symmetrically as I can. So let me go ahead and do that. As you can see, I've arranged the beaded components the way I want them. These are my 2 strands, and I haven't connected them yet. I need to do that. But as you can see, I distributed the colors as evenly as I could, making sure that the red and turquoise beads were evenly spaced out. And this is the best way to do this. Since I know each strand has the same number of components and types of components, it means that both strands will be the exact same length. So now all I need to do is connect these components, and that's very easy to do. I'm going to go ahead and open up this loop, connect the next component, and close up a loop. And now I'm going to open up this loop, connect the next one, and close it up. And that's all there is to it. You just want to make sure that those loops are nicely closed. So I'm going to keep connecting all of these components. As you can see, I connected all the beaded components, and now I'm ready to connect the pendant. Here's the pendant. And this is very easy to do. I'm simply going to open up this loop, connect it to the pendant, and close it up. And now let me open up this one. And connect it to the pendant and close it up. So this is what we have so far, and I absolutely love it. I love the colors. So now the only thing left to do is to attach chain at the top, and I'm going to be using the chain that came in the box. So I'm going to go ahead and take the necklace to the mirror, figure out how much chain I need, cut 2 pieces, and I'll be right back. As you can see, I cut myself 2 pieces of chain and I've attached it. I think it's super cute and very colorful. But anyway guys, let me give you the measurements. I'm always a little bit reluctant to do that because I have a small frame. But just in case you're curious, each piece of chain measures 5 inches, and each one of these beaded strands measures 7 1/4 inches. Now yours may be different depending on how big your loops are. You're going to have to figure it out. But anyway, by the time I add the jump rings and the clasp, the whole necklace will probably measure around 26 inches. And that's not counting the pendant. Let me go ahead and attach the clasp. Here are 2 6mm jump rings. And here's the lobster clasp. And by the way, this chain has links that are open links, so you don't have to cut them. You can just grab them with a set of pliers and open up the link. I don't know if you guys can see where the little cut is, but that's what I did. So let's go ahead and attach the clasp. I'm going to open up this jump ring, connect the lobster claw clasp, and now I'm going to connect it to this strand, just like that. Close up the jump ring. Let me open up this one now. And I'm going to connect it to this strand now and close it up. Let me do it up and then I'll show you. As you can see, those jump rings are nicely closed. That's what you want. It's always a challenge arranging such long necklaces on my mat, but I think you get the idea. I really like how this one turned out. I think it's lovely, but I'm very partial because I love colorful necklaces, especially necklaces that have those three colors, red, yellow, and turquoise. Now to go along with this necklace, I want to use one of these rhombus components. I think it's absolutely gorgeous and it matches the necklace beautifully. As you can see, I've already attached an ear wire hook to this one. It's very easy to do. I have one right here, and mine is stainless steel. That's all I use. I'm simply going to open up this loop here, slide the component into it, and now I'm going to close it up. And that's all there is to it. I think they're absolutely adorable. Now I realize they're a little bit large for some people, although I do love them. So what I'm going to do is make another pair of earrings. So let me go ahead and get the beads for that, and I'll be right back. So here are the beads for the second pair of earrings. As you can see, I've already made one of them. It's made up of two components. The top one has the nugget with two bead caps and the 8mm frosted bead. The bottom one has the little flower bead, the turquoise 4mm size bead, the large spacer, and the little metal spacer. And here they are laid out. These are from the Inspired by Check strand. I've already put this beaded component together to save time. So let's go ahead and build the bottom one. I'm going to use a ball head pin. I'm going to thread on this turquoise bead. And now this flower bead. And then the spacer, the large spacer. And the small metal spacer. Just like that. And now I'm going to create a wrap loop. So I'm going to grab the pin at the top of this bead here, kink it, switch, take the tail, wrap it around the nose of my pliers, flip the pliers around, continue to wrap to the back, just like that. I'm going to grab the loop with some skinny pliers. And with another set, I'm going to grab the tail and do a couple of wraps. Cut off the excess pin and tuck in whatever little end is sticking out, if you see one. Here's an ear wire hook, and now I'm going to connect these two components. So let me open up this loop and connect this one, close it up really well. And now I'm going to open up this one, connect the ear wire hook, and close it up. I guess we have some crows outside. I'm not sure if you can hear them. So here's another adorable pair of earrings that's going to coordinate perfectly with the necklace as it has some of the same beads. So now we're going to move on to the next necklace. Let me get the materials for that. So here are the materials for the second necklace. As you can see, I have that gorgeous mix of charms. These were the antique brass and copper colored charms. I also have a piece of chain here. This is roller chain. It did not come in the box. It's from my own stash. And I have a piece that's 20 inches long. I'm thinking this necklace should be around that length, but I'm not sure yet. I'll decide that once I hang the charms. I have my tiny jump rings here. And I'll be using pretty much all of the charms that have one hole. I'm not going to use the ones that have two holes, obviously. So let me show you how I'm going to do this. I need to find the center of this piece of chain. To find the center of the chain, the best thing to do is to use a head pin. I'm going to feed one end of the chain onto it, and now I'm going to feed the other end onto it, just like this. And that's going to help me find the center of the chain. It doesn't have to be perfect. The center is approximately here. Let me open up a jump ring. I think I'm going to start with one of these round ones. This one right here. I'm threading it onto the jump ring, as you can see. And now I'm going to go ahead and connect it to the chain. Just like that. And close up my jump ring. One word of caution, guys. These charms are very, very thin. So it's critical that you close your jump rings really well. You don't want any gap at all. So this is what we have so far. And I think it looks super cute. Now if you'll notice with my roller chain, I have links that are parallel to my mat and links that are vertical. I'm going to be connecting the charms to all the ones that are parallel to my mat. And they're all going to be connected on the same side of that link, if that makes any sense. It's critical that you do that in order for the charms to lay properly. So the next one's going to be connected to this link here. Let me open up a jump ring. And I think I'm going to use one of these now. These are the longer ones. So once again, I need to connect it to the bottom part of this link right here. Close up the jump ring. So this is what we have so far. And that's basically all I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep connecting the charms until I think I have enough. I'll probably go to the mirror and hold it up to my chest to see how it looks before I stop. So let me go ahead and do that off camera and I'll be right back. As you can see, I attached the charms and I went ahead and attached the clasp. I figured since I already did that with the other necklace, I didn't need to show you again. It's the same thing as the other necklace, 2 6mm jump rings and the lobster claw clasp. But let me show you how I connected these charms. As you can see, they're pretty symmetrically hung. I used 3 of the round ones, 4 of the teardrop shaped ones, and 5 of the dagger ones. And I made sure that I placed a dagger in between each one of them. And I think it looks really attractive. Let me lay it down so you can take a better look. You might want to take a screenshot. The main thing you need to worry about is that when you hang the charms, you need to hang them all on the same side of those links, the bottom part of the links, because if you don't do that, they won't lay properly. So anyway, guys, I'm pretty happy with this one. We're going to go ahead and move on to the third necklace now. Let me get the materials. Here are the beads for the third necklace. This one's going to be shorter. It's going to sit at the collarbone. As you can see, I have the size 6/0 seed beads, and I also have the jasper tubes. I pretty much used up all the jasper tube beads, and I'm glad because they're absolutely gorgeous. But anyway, guys, as you can see, I've arranged them on my magic rod. I have another one here that I'm going to use for the rest of the beads. These are the 12-inch rods. I sell them on my Etsy store in case you're interested. I use these all the time to arrange my bead patterns, and they come in super handy, especially when you're using seed beads. They come in 2 sizes, 9 and 12 inches. I like to use the 12-inch size for my necklaces. Now we do have an odd number of jasper beads. We have a total of 17. So I've loaded 9 on this rod, and I'm going to load the other 8 on this rod. But what I want to make sure I do is to have the same amount of seed beads. And the reason I'm using seed beads is because I didn't have enough jasper beads. So that's another little tip. If you don't have enough of the main beads, you can always backfill with seed beads. So let me move this one off to the side and we'll work on the second rod. Here are some seed beads. and this is very easy to do. The magic rods come with little stoppers at the end. I'm going to remove the stopper, and I think I'm going to start with seed beads. So I'm going to try to load the same amount of seed beads, and there's no need to count them, because what I'm going to do is hold up one rod up against the other rod to make sure that I have the same length of seed beads. So it looks like I have the same length. Now obviously if you prefer to count your seed beads, that's fine, it's up to you. And by the way guys, if you don't have rods, you can use a scrap piece of beading wire to do this, or you can just simply lay them out on your mat. I like to use the rods because it gives me accurate measurements. So now I'm going to load the jasper beads, and it's basically going to be a jasper bead with a seed bead in between. Just like that. So let me keep going. As you can see, I loaded the second rod, and I made sure that I had the same amount of seed beads on both ends. Obviously this top one is longer because I have one extra bead there, because like I said before, I have an odd number of jasper beads. And the nice thing about the rods is that I can bring the stoppers in to hold the beads up against each other, and that's going to help me get an accurate measurement. So let me get the ruler now, and let me see how long they are. The top one's a little bit more than 8 1/4, and the bottom one is almost 8. And that's fine, because by the time I add the jump rings and the clasp, it's going to add an additional inch. So the necklace will probably be around 17 inches long. Of course, I can always change that by removing seed beads or adding seed beads. So now I'm going to load these beads on some beading wire, and I'm going to be using Beadalon. This is 49 strand Beadalon, and it's in a gold color. As you can see, it's 0.018 of an inch thick, or 0.46 millimeters. Let me cut myself a piece. I cut myself a 20-inch length. I like to have a little bit extra so I can have something to hold on to. I'm going to use a clip on the end so I don't lose the beads. You can use a bead stopper if you want to. So let me show you how easy this is. I'm going to start at this end. To offload from the rod, you simply hold on to this end like this. Take the stopper off this end. And now I'm going to grab several seed beads at a time and thread them directly onto my beading wire. Just like that. And because the rods hold the beads in alignment, it's easy to thread them on. So let me keep going. As you can see, I've loaded the beads onto the beading wire, and now we just need to crimp off the ends and attach the clasp. I have 2 crimp tubes here. I'm going to be using some clamshell covers. Now one thing you should do before you crimp anything is to take the necklace to the mirror and hold it up to your chest to make sure that it's the right length. So before I do any crimping, let me go ahead and do that. Okay, I'm back, and I did end up removing some seed beads from each end. So the necklace basically sits on my collarbone, which is what I want. Let me go ahead and crimp off one end. The first thing I'm going to do is load one of these clamshell covers, and I'm going in from the bottom, as you can see, just like that. And now I'm going to load a crimp tube. Using some chain nose pliers, I'm going to squash that crimp tube. You want to make sure you squash it really well. Just like that. Now for those of you who are concerned about the strength of this crimp tube, it's very, very strong, guys, okay? This crimp tube is not going anywhere. Let me show you. I'm pushing that clamshell cover really, really hard, and that crimp tube is not going anywhere. You should do that every time you do this method, because you want to make sure that the crimp tube is on there properly. So I'm going to go ahead and snip off the excess beading wire. Bring my clamshell cover up. As you can see, it's going to sit right inside that clamshell cover. and you simply close it up. And that's all there is to it. And by the way, guys, I like to use the clamshell covers that have 2 loops instead of 1. You may see some that only have 1 loop. The reason I like to use the one with 2 loops is because it makes it a little bit wider and it makes it less likely to slide through a jump ring, okay? Because we're going to be attaching a jump ring to that. So now we're going to move the beads up, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to attach a clamshell cover going in from the bottom, and then the crimp tube. Now this part's a little bit trickier because you have to reach inside that clamshell cover. So what I like to do is open up that clamshell cover a little bit. I'm going to use a set of pliers. I'm going to grab this side and open it up a little bit like this. You don't want to open it too much because it'll weaken the metal. So now I'm going to reach in here with my chain nose pliers, tug on the beading wire a little bit, and then squash that crimp tube. And you should always test it. Let me snip off the excess beading wire. And now we need to close this clamshell. Just like that. It's a very easy way to do crimping. Much better and much easier than the traditional fold over method. Here are 2 jump rings and a lobster claw clasp. The jump rings are 6mm in size. Let me go ahead and open one. Attach the lobster claw clasp. And attach it to this end. And close it up. Let me open up this one now. And I'm going to attach it to this end. I absolutely adore this necklace. I can see myself wearing this in the summertime to the beach. It's absolutely gorgeous. Now, in addition to the necklaces and the earrings, I also made a bracelet to match. Here it is. I used the exact same technique to finish it off. As you can see, I used the clamshell covers on this one, just like the necklace. And I attached one of the patina charms. This is the one with the starburst design, and it's 15mm in diameter. And as you can see, I do have some focal beads as well. I used one of the nuggets and 2 of the 8mm frosted beads. And I also used bead caps at each end. Now initially I was going to put bead caps on all 3 beads, but that affected the length of the bracelet. So sometimes you need to make small adjustments in order to get the right length. Another thing you can play around with are the seed beads. For example, if you didn't have enough of the jasper beads, you could add more seed beads at the clasp, just like I did on the necklace. And by the way, I used a 5mm jump ring to attach that charm. So anyway, guys, we sure made a lot of jewelry today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I've inspired you. Let me get all the pieces and I'll arrange them on my board. Well, here are all the pieces we made today. And of course, it was a huge challenge to fit everything on the board. I had to actually zoom out a little bit, but I'm very happy with the entire set. I think it looks absolutely stunning. I know you can't see the whole thing, so let me see if I can pan up and down. There's the bottom of the necklace. And now let me go to the top. That's about as high as I can go. If I go any further, I'm going to hit one of the tripods. Let me come back down again. So anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial. I think I pretty much used most of the beads in that box. As usual, I'd like to put these pieces on and show you what they look like. So let me do that and I'll see you in a few moments. Well, what do you think, guys? Weren't those pieces gorgeous? I would like to know which combination you like the best, whether you would wear one, two, or all three. I guess it depends on the occasion. Sometimes you want something a little bit more understated, and so you would just wear one. But if you're going to some party or some luncheon or something, you might want to wear all three. I don't know. I like each one of them, and I could actually wear each one individually. And I might wear two at a time. I don't think I'd wear three in my area because I live in the DC area, and the people here are very conservative. But if I were to go traveling or on vacation, I might wear all three. So anyway, guys, I would love to hear your comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know which combination you like the best. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.